This is an excerpt of a Power-Up webinar entitled Using Photoshop for Video. Hi, my name is Larry Jordan. In this excerpt, I'm going to show you how to import layered Photoshop images into Premiere and Final Cut Pro 10. And now let's switch over to the integration of Photoshop with video. There's our balloon. We cut that out and pasted it in so it's floating over the mountain stream. We've added a text layer on the background. Notice how the background has got layer 1 in the image. Layer 2 is the fishing village and the text for layer 2. Layer 3 is the balloon and the text. And layer 4 is just the text. Okay, so we've got 4 different layers going there. I'm going to import these layers first into Premiere and second into Final Cut because they handle a layered Photoshop image slightly differently. Let's go to Premiere first and Command-I, and let's bring in our layered Photoshop image. Now it opens up a dialog and we have 4 choices. We can import all layers, merge, squeeze down so it's a single layer. It converts it from layered Photoshop into the equivalent of say a PNG or a TIFF. Or I can just merge selected layers. I want to merge the title with, say, the background. So I'll just check the layers, and it's going to squeeze it down to a single layer image. But layer 2 and 3, because they're not checked, are not going to be imported. Or I can bring in only those layers which are checked. Or I can bring everything in as a sequence. I want to do everything as a sequence, and I'll show you why. When I click OK, it brings this in as a folder. Double-click the folder, and there's each one of the layers and the sequence. When I double-click the sequence to open it up inside the timeline, there is each one of those 4 layers. There's the background, there's the fishing village, there's the balloon, and there's the text. The reason bringing these in is so helpful is I can now select this bottom layer. Let's go to the Effects tab, go to Video Effects, go down and apply a video effect. I'll pick something simple like Gaussian blur, drop Gaussian blur on it, go up to the Effects controls, increase the blur, and now I can use the tools available to me inside Premiere to give me exactly the look that I want. Maybe I want to have this fishing village materialize in as though it was beamed in from a starship. Then the title flies in from the right-hand side. I can animate the contents of each layer. Now I can't animate the individual letters of the text because everything is on a single layer. My animation is layer-based, not the elements within a layer. But being able to pull these 4 in is really cool. Well, if we shift over to Final Cut, remember Premiere gave us 4 options. Merge everything, merge that which is selected, bring in only those layers that were selected, and create a sequence from it. I've got those options in Premiere. Those options don't exist inside Final Cut. And this time, Command-I, and we'll navigate down to the desktop and Demo Stills, and we'll find our layered Photoshop. None of these settings will affect Photoshop one way or the other. Choose whatever works for you. But none of those are specifically related to a Photoshop image. Here, double-click it. See that icon in the top left corner? That indicates it's a layered Photoshop graphic. And, as we see here, there's the layers, all 4 of them. There's the background, the fishing village, the balloon, and the foreground. But notice that in Premiere and in Photoshop, there's a drop shadow there. But not a drop shadow in Final Cut. That's because Final Cut deals with Photoshop images based upon the standards of Photoshop 3, not CS3, Photoshop 3, about 15, 20 years ago. Consequently, layer effects, in order for them to show up inside Final Cut, need to be rendered. But there's also a neat thing that's true in both Premiere and Final Cut. If I go back to Photoshop, select this text, we'll select the text tool, highlight it. Let's just change the color to, say, a blue. Pick that, click OK. Notice that our text is now blue. There it is. Save it. Switch back to Final Cut, text is now blue. It's dynamically linking back to Photoshop. So if I make a change to the Photoshop document, that change automatically shows up inside Final Cut. This has been an excerpt of a recent Power Up webinar looking at how to use Photoshop for video. For the complete version of this online training, please visit our store at larryjordan.biz/store and look for Webinar 128. By the way, if you need to stretch your training dollars, a subscription membership to our video training library saves you money. You can access all of our videos for a low monthly price of only $19.99. That's more than 700 movies, dozens of hours of training, all in depth and up to date. Plus, members can attend any of our Power Up webinars for free. Our training covers Apple and Adobe software. We update it every week, and for more information, visit larryjordan.biz/subscriptions.